One of the most common questions I get asked is what type of writing software do I use? And the answer is that I use two. The first is Campfire and the second is Microsoft Word. I use Campfire to draft and outline my book, and then I use Microsoft Word for the editing phase. But today we're going to be talking all about Campfire because I feel like it's a writing software that not a lot of people know about, but it's a great and fantastic tool for you to use. Campfire allows you to create character profiles, it allows you to outline and look at your timeline for your book, and it also allows you to do a lot of world building. My name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner, and if you want weekly videos on the business of being an author, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, and let's get on to the video. I wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you to Campfire for sponsoring this video. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, then this is not the first time you've heard me talk about Campfire. I've used them in writing vlogs, and I've also done another video on them on how you can use it to create a digital story Bible. But today I'm going to be showing you how I use it to write my current novel that I'm working on, Project Road Trip 2, which is the sequel to my most recent novel, Meet Me at the Summit. Right now, I use it for drafting as well as outlining and planning out everything. Campfire is easily my favorite writing software that I use. I know there are a couple different options out there, but Campfire has been my go-to for the past couple of years. Before we get started and we hop on my computer to click around, there are two things that I want you to know. The first is that you can use Campfire online or offline. If you want to use it online, you have to use their web browser, which is mostly what I use because I hop between writing on my laptop and writing on my desktop. So I like to use the online version so I can always switch from device to device without needing to worry about saving stuff and that sort of thing. To write online, simply go to campfirewriting.com. But if you are the type of person who maybe you write when there isn't always a Wi-Fi signal, then you can write offline by accessing the desktop app, which is just an app that you download for free, and you can write your novel there and outline and do everything that you want to do in the desktop app. I also want you to know that there's a free version as well as a paid version of Campfire. Now you can access everything for free. The thing is, with the free version, you have a limited number of modules that you have access to, so there's a few different payment plans if you want unlimited access to all of the features. I personally have a lifetime plan for everything, and I absolutely love it. So if you end up falling in love with the software, be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video because I have a coupon code for you guys. For the paid features, you can choose to pay monthly, pay annually, or you can just purchase a lifetime software. I personally think the lifetime option is best because then you can use Campfire every single time you have a novel in the future. So with that said, let's jump onto the computer and I'll show you how I use it for Meet Me at the Summit as well as for the current book that I'm working on now. Alright, so here we are on the home page of Campfire. So I'm using the online version, which is campfirewriting.com, and as you can see, I have two projects going on right now. I have Project Road Trip and Project Road Trip 2. Project Road Trip is Meet Me at the Summit. I just haven't changed the working title. And then obviously Project Road Trip 2 is the book that I'm working on right now. It actually has a title. I'm just not ready to tell you guys yet. We're going to start off in the project for Meet Me at the Summit, and then we'll jump into Project Road Trip 2 later on. So let's click on this. So here we have like the home screen. So I just added in this image myself because I just like it. I think it's pretty. So you can create your own home screen. So here we have just things that I've done recently, and then the index. So if I wanted to jump to things quickly, I can do that. And then pinned. So I added this myself. I pinned the bus because the bus in Meet Me at the Summit is pretty important, so I treat it as a character, and you guys will see that as we click around. So first thing I want to note is all your modules you have access to on this left-hand column right here. You can actually filter out which ones you want to see by hitting this button. So I don't use the culture, items, species, magic, encyclopedia. I don't use any of these, so I'm going to gray them out so they are out of my way. And then I'm going to go back, and you can see that now it's just the ones that I do use and actively love. So we're going to go to characters. So these are all the characters in Meet Me at the Summit. And in fact, I linked this with Project Road Trip 2. So there's actually some characters in here that are from the second book that aren't in the first book. So just so you know. So I'm going to click on Marley. So this is the little module that I created for Marley. I added like a reference photo. You can add a description here. I kind of forgot to do that. But you can put down physical attributes. You can put down personality traits. I personally have like a whole backstory because I was trying to figure out the timeline of like when Marley's parents died and how long it's been and that sort of thing. So if you wanted to add in a new character, we're going to go back to the list. So basically, anytime where you're clicking around and you want to go back to like access all your modules, you just hit this little list button. And I'm going to go and I'm going to click that little plus button. And this is what it looks like when you start off. You can add your reference photo by clicking this, and you can click on whatever. And then you can click this button down here. And then you have all these options of different things that you can add in. So we can add in attributes. And then you hit manage attributes and you have all these different things that you can add in about your character. So this is kind of good, especially if you feel like you don't know what you don't know about your character yet. Like you have a character in your mind, but you aren't sure like what are they about. But maybe you need a few prompts to get yourself going to like really understand your character. So you can come in here and be like, oh, what type of clothing do they wear? Is there jewelry that they wear often, or maybe there's a scarf that they like to wear all the time. So this you can add in to kind of help brainstorm and figure out more about your character. And then you can also see I have, like I said, the bus is its own character. This was just notes about the layout of the bus, and then I have this inspiration photo to kind of show like what the layout of the bus looks like so I know, so I can make sure that my readers also know. But now we're going to go back to the main menu, and we're going to go to timeline because this is my personal favorite. So I'm just going to hit view entire timeline. So this is the timeline that I created for Meet Me at the Summit. And what I love about this is that I have the traveling timeline because this book is about a road trip. So Marley's going to all these different places. So I had to make sure I knew when we were in Seattle, Washington, when we were in Lake Stevens, Washington, when we were at Mount Rainier, all these different things. But not only that, I also wanted to keep in mind where the Save the Cat story beats are. So we have this timeline for travel, this timeline for Save the Cat. This timeline is the chapter outline when it was within its first draft. So after I wrote the first draft of Meet Me at the Summit, I went in and made notes one by one on what happened in each chapter. Now, the cool part about this is that if you click on it, you can add in way more info. I obviously did not do that. As you can see, there's also a date here, so you can add in the dates, but again, that's not something that I did. I think I added it in somewhere else, but honestly, I wish I had added it here because that would have just made way more sense. But you can see I have a few notes because if I click on Yellowstone, then this is my image inspiration. So this is what Yellowstone looks like. This is some of the places Marley went to in Yellowstone. So I just have these here as reference. Now, I didn't quite do this the exact same for Project Road Trip 2, but this is kind of the layout I did for Meet Me at the Summit. So you'll see as I work that, you know, I figured out different workflows as I got to know Campfire more and more and discovered the features more and more. But I also wanted to point this out because I use this for editing, so that's what this last column down here is for, is I have all these notes on what type of things I need to edit. So as you can see here, I need to rewrite the opening scene, which is why it's right here with chapter 1 and chapter 2. And I made a note that Lori, the side character, is being a little too pushy. So that was one of the things that I need to edit in chapter 1 and 2. And then all these other different notes, and it's funny to look back on because some of these things I did change, some of them I didn't change. But I actually mainly use this timeline feature as a note section for editing. And that's what I plan on doing for my book, Project Road Trip 2 as well, because that's the next phase I'm about to jump into. Next, I want to show you the relationship tree, so I'm just going to go to that. I had a family reunion planned for the beginning of the book, so there was a lot of characters and a lot of them were not important characters, and I kind of had to figure out who was aunts and uncles and parents and cousins. So that's what this little family tree is here, and that's just how I kept everything in order. So you can go ahead and draw these little lines from character to character, and that's just how you can make it a little more visual for yourself. You'll notice that's a big pattern you'll see here in Campfire, is that it's all just extremely visual. So if you're someone who likes to use photos as inspiration, you are going to love this software. So going back here, you guys already saw that I removed a bunch of different modules, but I do want to re-click on them just so you can see like how many different options. So there's a module for story arcs, for an encyclopedia, for a magic system, for species, cultures, items, systems, languages, religions, philosophies. So yeah, for all these other different options you see, you're gonna have a whole nother place where you can do all this different types of brainstorming. And each one is designed for that specific module, so the setup is a little different. And there are like little things that you can fill in order to do some brainstorming. So the next bit I wanted to show you guys is the manuscript option. For Meet Me at the Summit, I didn't use this option too much just because I wasn't super familiar with it yet, but you can write your manuscript directly in Campfire. And Campfire recently made a lot of updates to their manuscript module, so this is what it currently looks like now. They just changed it. So if you're a user of Campfire, then you may already know what I'm talking about. But here we have, I just put in the first chapter of Meet Me at the Summit so I can kind of just show you guys some of the interactive features. But you can change how much is zoomed in. I like setting it for auto because I like to be zoomed in a little bit more. You have different paragraph options, different font options, font size. You can change the color of your text or the highlight color, and there's basically a whole bunch of options. You can mess with your options even more if you go to settings right over here. You can mess with the margins, the page size, the layout, all of that. It displays the word count, so you can change all of that. So if you're someone who likes to see the word count, make sure that's toggled on, and if you don't like to see the word count, toggle that off. Just make sure you hit the save button whenever you make any changes. What I like about Campfire is that you have the option to make it look simple, like it is right now, or you can click this button right here, and you can make it so that you can see some of those modules that you created earlier. So for me, who's writing a book that is frankly very visual, because there's a lot of traveling, there's a lot of sightseeing that happens in the book, I like to make sure that my readers can see the same thing I'm seeing in my head. So let's say I'm writing a chapter and Marley's hiking with a group of people. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna click Find Element. And I can look for that location right here. So I'm gonna click on Lake Stevens and I'm gonna hit View Element. So now I have the visual right here. And then if I hit this little view button, I'll be able to view other things that are in this little module that I created. So I'm just gonna scroll through, and I have this other photo of a house that I have for reference. And that's all I had for this one. Like I said, I tend to be very skimpy on how much I fill out these modules. I'm very much here just for the photos and taking a few notes for myself. So this is all outside of your manuscript, while this over here is the manuscript yourself. And then I personally like to use this area as a note section of a quick overview of what happened in that chapter. But if you don't like all this, you can always hit that X button and it goes away, and you can pull it up again at any time by clicking that button again. Another update they did do is that now you can add in photos into your manuscript. So you can just click this little plus button, and then you can add in all these different things. You can add a tag, and a tag is just a reference to one of the modules that you created. You can add a word from a language. So if you created a whole language module, you can reference that here. You can add an image, you can add a comment, and you can add a horizontal line. So just for example, if we want to add in an image, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click this and hit confirm. And there we have an image from Yellowstone. Now, I personally wouldn't put this in my manuscript because it's a novel. But if like you are writing nonfiction, you can totally use this to add in images for your nonfiction. Or if you just want to spice up your manuscript to keep you inspired, you can throw those images in there. One other thing I want to point out for the manuscript is that you can see some things are highlighted. Those are different elements or modules that you've created within Campfire. So highlighted right now is Lori, and Lori is a character. So as you can see, when I hover over it, it pops up. It says what project she's from. So she's from Project Road Trip, and she's a character. And if I want to learn more, I can just click on it, and it pulls it up in the navigator right here. So I can pull up more info. I can pull up how old she is, and I can see all the personality traits. So I can just click through and see all this information. That's what all these little highlights are. You can see this one here. But yeah, that's a cool feature of the manuscript module, is that you can pull up all this stuff at any time. So that's all for Meet Me at the Summit, and now I want to switch over to everything I created for my current novel that I'm working on, which is Project Road Trip 2. But before we continue, I want to know in the comments down below what your favorite writing software is. Do you like the sound of all the options that Campfire has so far? Or maybe there's a different software that you prefer more? Or perhaps you like good old trusty Microsoft Word. Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so we're back on the home page, so now I can go to Project Road Trip 2. But before I go to Project Road Trip 2, I mentioned earlier that Project Road Trip and Project Road Trip 2 are linked together because they're part of a series. And I just wanted to explain to you guys what that means. I spent a lot of time for creating modules for Meet Me at the Summit, and mainly I'm talking about all the character modules because I had a lot of characters and I added in a lot of details for a lot of those characters. And I didn't want to recreate all those modules again when I was writing Project Road Trip 2 because for the most part, it's all the same. So what I did was I created linked projects. So if you want to know how to do that, click the project you want to link it to and go to this little info icon, and then you click New Project, create a new linked project. And that is basically how you get started on creating a linked project. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess up everything I set up. But as you can see right here, it already says it's linked to another project. And if I click this little arrow, you can see that the project it's linked to is Project Road Trip 2. And speak of Project Road Trip 2, this is the little homepage that I created for Project Road Trip 2. You'll notice it's filled out way more. So this is the home page. We have my pinned section, which again, I just have the VW bus pinned. And then we have this recent section. This is just things that I've accessed recently. We have this beautiful header image, which I am obsessed with. And then we have stats. I love the stats. So as you can see, it's tracked a lot of different things. It's tracked how many hours I've been working on it. It's tracked how many words I've written and how many elements that I've created. And then this over here, I have a notes section, which I love because as I was writing, I kind of started coming up with things I already need to edit and check. And these are just notes on being like, did I say where the main characters lived in the first book? Because I honestly can't remember if I ever said what town they lived in. So that's what I use the notes section for. I'm going to click on the stats real quick. So when you click on it, you have a few different ways to view it. You have time spent. So as you can see, I spent 26.6 hours on my manuscript, 7.9 hours on my characters, 2 hours on my map, 1.6 hours on relationships, and so on. So that's just kind of fun. And then we have words written, and instead of total, I'm gonna click it to be over time. So this you can see how many words I wrote. So if you guys watched my most recent writing vlog, I wrote 5,000 words every single day for an entire week. So you can see that week is right here. And as you can see by this color chart, we have no words written and the most words written. So it's pretty clear when I did all my writing. But I just wanted to show this off because I thought it was cool. And then we have elements created. And you can kind of just pop around and look at all the different views to see, you know, all the little fun stats if you want to keep yourself motivated by that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to my location modules. So as you can see, this is filled out way more than the other one I created for Meet Me at the Summit because I understand the software more now and I love it. So you can see I have locations, maps, and all these different things going on. So I'm going to go to one of the locations, which is Bridal Veil Falls. And again, you can see I just like putting photos. So I have a photo of the waterfall here. And then I just added in a screenshot from a website called All Trails because this screenshot tells me how long the trail is, how much elevation gain, and what type of trail it is. And then you can even see the elevation here. So again, this is just a screenshot that I added in because I wanted it for reference. And then if I go to Mount Evans, I added in a ton of photos. So as you can see, I just like adding in photos. But this is all under locations. So this is what I use the locations module for. Next up, I'll show you the maps module. So this is something that I wasn't keeping track of at all previously. Normally, as I was writing, I would have to look up these maps every single time. So as I was writing Meet Me at the Summit and Project Road Trip 2, I almost always had Google Maps opened as a tab somewhere. So now what I started to do was every single time I looked up a route on Google Maps, I would screenshot it and share it as a map, which you guys can see here. So basically, I just use the maps to know how many miles my main character is driving. In this case, it's 302 miles, and how long that trip takes, which in this case, 6 hours and 18 minutes. This may sound stupid, but for the type of book I'm writing, this information is super important to know because I want to keep my book as factual as possible. I don't want to make it seem like a drive from Colorado Springs to Alta Lake is 20 minutes when it's supposed to be 6 hours. I'm going to have all this blurred out so you guys can't see it, but you can see that I have 3 different timelines happening again. I have the Save the Cat timeline, the rough outline timeline, and then I'm about to jump into editing, which means I'm going to make another timeline that's a chapter by chapter outline, and then I'll move everything around accordingly. Now, going back to my home page, you may have noticed that things physically look different than they did for Meet Me at the Summit. And that's because there's this thing that you can customize called theme. And they have a few pre-built themes in here, but you can also edit themes as well. So I believe they all start off as a campfire theme, which I'm going to click on it just so you can see. So campfire, the background is like stars and the fonts are pretty plain, which is fine. But for me, I was like, oh, I'm writing a romance. I'm going to click on romance and see what happens. And when I did that, the background changed to like a beautiful, colorful mountain scene, which as you guys can tell, that's perfect. Like this theme was literally built for me. And then it has the most adorable girly font. And basically, I'm just trying to say that I like how you can customize it. So they have a few other ones. There's light, dark, crime, history, steampunk. I'll click on that just because I'm curious. So steampunk is quite a different font, and the background is steampunk-ish, as you can see. But obviously, the one that fits me the most is the romance one, but I'm going to click on fantasy just so you guys can see that. So this is the background for fantasy. And you can also see that it changed the fonts, it changed how that looked. It just changes everything. But you can also hit this edit button so you can completely edit the theme. So you can change the color palette, you can change the fonts, and this is the preview of everything. I personally just like how the theme for romance looks, but you can also change the background. Obviously, I'm not going to change the background because it's literally, it looks like it's made for my book. So we're going to go back to romance because it's just so pretty and perfect. So that is Campfire and how I use Campfire as a writing software to outline my books, to create a bit of a story Bible, and to also write the first draft of my books. Now, obviously, I use it pretty limitedly because I'm not writing a fantasy book with all these different elements going on. So if you're a fantasy writer, I highly recommend checking out Campfire. At least try out their free version. You're probably gonna fall in love with it because you're gonna be able to create this whole world and keep track of everything much easier. You can try it for free at any time, and then if you want to get a discount on any of their lifetime purchases, you can use the code Mandi to get 20% off. Now, my favorite modules are by far the timeline module and the character module. I feel like for authors, those are must-haves. Those are the ones that you're going to get the most wear and tear out of. But if you're also open to spending a little bit more, I'd recommend getting the lifetime access to the manuscript module as well, because like I said, you can easily pull up things from your manuscript as you're writing and reference them. So those are my favorite modules. Be sure to check them out. And if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if there were any modules that you loved the most. I've already said what my favorites were. I'd love to hear what your favorites are as well. Otherwise, that is it for today's video. I will see you guys all next week.